What is artificial intelligence and how will it impact trust and estate law in 2024 and beyond? That's the subject of today's ACTEC Trust and Estate Talk.
Welcome to ACTEC Trust and Estate Talk from the American College of Trust and Estate Counsel, a professional society of peer-elected trust and estate lawyers in the United States and around the globe. This series offers professionals best practice advice, insights, and commentary on subjects that affect our profession and clients. And now, our ACTEC Fellow host with today's topic.
This is Travis Hayes, ACTEC Fellow from Naples, Florida. Artificial intelligence is impacting the digital domain and industry and various other aspects of our daily lives. But how is it affecting trust and estate law? And what can we expect in the future? This is such an important topic that the ACTEC Trust and Estate Talk is devoting 4 podcasts to better understand AI's impact on our profession. ACTEC Fellow Tracy Potts of Sacramento, California, who is the current chair of the college's Artificial Intelligence Task Force, joins the ACTEC Trust and Estate Talk today to tell us what artificial intelligence is and what the series of podcasts will help explain. Welcome, Tracy.
Thank you. So I want to start with what is artificial intelligence and how are we seeing it in our current practices? And so basically, we have lots of different types of artificial intelligence. And when you look at articles on artificial intelligence, it will describe it in many ways. So the first is that there's reactive artificial intelligence, and it has been around for a long time. It basically is a machine that is mimicking what you do, and it can repeat that mimic over and over and over, and it can do it at a very fast rate. Reactive artificial intelligence has been in industries such as manufacturing, where it's a machine that puts the same rivet on every single time. It also is in our area of law because it is in predictive models occasionally. The other area that we often see and have all been using for a very long time is artificial narrow intelligence. And artificial narrow intelligence is that it's basically a voice activated intelligence. And we've all been using Siri, we've all been using Alexa. All of those are artificial narrow intelligence. And it basically, we are using an intelligence that can perform a specific task based upon a verbal prompt that we give it. Often we'll probably see it in our smart homes. We might even start seeing it in our practices where we can give voice commands to computers for them to perform specific tasks. We also have limited memory artificial intelligence. Limited memory artificial intelligence is emulating a human's brain. It's responding to stimuli and it's learning from recent data. It is a self-driving cars. It is something that allows you to basically do certain things, and then it is learning and doing it better the next time, which is important for artificial intelligence. It's the learning models that are important to us in the trust and estates field. The other type of artificial intelligence, and this has already been being used in our practices, is predictive artificial intelligence. And predictive artificial intelligence has been used by litigators to help predict how a jury could respond based upon historical data. It also can be used to predict what judges will rule in certain cases. It can go through massive amounts of data in a very short period of time and give you a predictive analysis. And there are programs that are already out there that can do those things. But the ones that we use in our daily lives that we all use for predictive artificial intelligence is when we go to the internet and we browse articles, the predictive artificial intelligence has already picked what it thinks we want to read. So that predictive artificial intelligence is there. It's also on your Netflix and your Amazon Prime accounts telling you which movies you'll like. So it is part of our daily lives and we are using it on a daily basis. The one that has really heightened up the people's hype about artificial intelligence and is really going to make the most impact in our world is the last type of artificial intelligence, and that is generative AI. Generative AI really is the revolution. And they say that on November 30th of 2022, we hit the intelligence revolution. And that is because that is the first time that Chat GPT actually was released on the internet and the public actually had access to that generative AI. Now, generative AI is a machine that uses huge volumes of data to create new text. So that's the important part. Generative AI can create. It is the first artificial intelligence that is not using a data set to mimic what it has, but it's the first artificial intelligence that can create. It can create text and it can create new images. And so now we have a type of AI that will impact the trust and estates field because it will start doing drafting for us and correcting drafting for us and proposing drafting for us. And so that is why generative AI has been so important. And when we started the revolution, we just knew about Chat GPT. Since that time, chatbots, which is what generative AI uses, have exploded. And we're all familiar with using chatbots. When we go shopping online, the little chatbot pops up and says, "May I help you?" That is generative AI. But what we're talking about is much more broader than that. Generative AI is now going to be in every program that we use. So it's already in our Excel programs. So when you screw up a formula and the Excel program says, "May I fix that for you?" That's generative AI. When your Word document says, "Here's how you should finish this sentence," that's generative AI. When your Outlook program pops in and says, "You want to email so and so," it finishes your sentence or it gives your sincerely or however you normally end your correspondence or your emails, that's all generative AI and it's already there. Now, what we will see is that's going to expand tremendously and it's going to be in more programs. And we're going to have to spend a lot of time educating ourselves and learning about generative AI. And you're going to have to decide, as it's going to be in future podcasts, about how you're going to allow AI to be used in the future. You will have to decide because generative AI is storing all the data that you're putting in it in most programs. They are open programs. They're learning from the data and they're not distinguishing between, well, Tracy told me this, so I can only release that information to Tracy. It's going to be that I'm going to learn from what Tracy told me and I'm going to tell Travis. So you have to really be careful. And we're going to talk about that in our later podcast about using AI and making sure that it's learning from you, but it's not learning from you about specifics about your clients or any of those kinds of things. The other ones that have been far along that we're going to be using in our everyday practice and is already available to us is Thomson Reuters West and LexisNexis have both incorporated artificial intelligence in their search engines. We have watched those throughout the task force periods of times and had them demonstrate those products. And it is just helping you locate something that you might not have thought of in your research. And it just expands upon your research and helps you think about other things. Those products have started becoming fairly reliable, especially the Thomson Reuters West one. it is not hallucinating at the rate that some of the other programs are. And when you talk about AI and you talk about hallucination, a machine does not actually hallucinate. A machine lies. So when a machine lies to you and tells you something that is completely inaccurate, that means that that machine is hallucinating, as the term of art is used. And as a program develops more and more, it hallucinates less and less. So the other thing, so we're going to see products just explode in the next year, year and a half, that are going to start being directed towards trust and estates practices. And that is an important thing for you to start trying to figure out how you're going to integrate those practices. Now let's talk a little bit about future. Where are we? Because the development of AI is not really, it's still at its infancy. And I will tell you the reason it's at its infancy is because it's just been released. But even though it's been released, it's moving fast. So for example, when ChatGPT was originally released in November of 2022, it basically had the cognitive ability of approximately a 2-year-old. And by end of last year, ChatGPT's cognitive ability had increased to be a 9-year-old. And so that is in a little over a year, it has grown its cognitive ability significantly. And we're just going to see that expand and expand and expand. And we're going to be getting to the next areas of development of artificial intelligence. So, first, there's the theory of mind machines. So, the theory of mind machines basically are about they develop inferences, they have intuition, they can determine outcomes. They're similar to human cognition. So, generative AI is getting close to being a theory of mind, as are the other generative AI products, but we're not quite there where we have a fully developed human cognition type of machine. The other area that we don't have yet is artificial general intelligence. Which other people refer to as singularity or sometimes self awareness. So that's when the machine basically develops human emotions and judgments. Now, in talking to developers about AI will have to eventually develop this. The reason that the human brain is so unique is that because it has part of our brain is emotion and part of our brain is logic, which is very important for us to be able to regulate ourselves and not be sociopathic. So, in order to develop an AI that is not sociopathic, it has to develop emotions and feelings in order for it to regulate itself and become similar to human. So, it is not there and it's not expected to be there for a little while, but there are predictions that it's going to be as early as 2030 for us to get to where we have machines that have singularity. The other area is artificial superintelligence. Now, developers have already been working on artificial superintelligence, and they can't really get there on artificial superintelligence until they get there on singularity. And the reason for that is it's going to be a machine that has the ability to have that balancing and regulation, but it's going to be billions of times smarter than us. So it is eventually, it's expected that we can get there. But really, most people believe that we can't get there. We don't want a Skynet. We don't want to get there. So most people believe that singularity has to happen before we can ever get to super intelligence. So how do you use AI in your practice? So you're going to be using it for asking it questions. You're going to make sure that you're asking it specific questions. You're going to be asking it, if you want it to give you an empathetic response, remember it's mimicking you. So you need to ask it in an empathetic way. You want to target your audience for the response that you're going to get. So you're going to ask the question in a way that you're targeting it. You're going to look for hallucinatory responses because you can't rely. You got to make sure you verify, because it's still 2-year-olds lied a lot where it started, and 9-year-olds, they still don't always tell the truth. So we're going to have where it has not reached the maturity to say, I don't know. And so its mission is to answer your question. It's going to give you false information. You're going to treat it like a treatise. It's going to be not exactly what you're looking for, but it's going to lead you in the right direction. So that's what you're really using it for. And remember, when you're asking it stuff, don't give it any information about your client, because you don't want that to be part of your data set. And then you're going to be incorporating these AI products in your practices. And I want you to be aware of a few things. One is, you're not going to be using your laptop in public anymore if you're working on a client document. And the reason for that is that AI can listen to your keystrokes, and with 95% accuracy, it can replicate those. So we're just all going to have to be a little bit more self-aware of what our environment is and who's listening. And we don't know if the person next to us at their laptop doesn't have an AI program that's duplicating what we type. So we're just going to have to be a lot conscious of where we're working and who can listen. We're also going to have to be careful about deep fakes. We're going to have to work with our clients and figure out, is that really my client on the phone? Or is that somebody that's deep faking my client's information and telling me to make a change? So we're just going to have to put some safety parameters in place to make sure that when we're getting calls from clients, we're getting really calls from clients. And then lastly, when we're bringing in products, we want to make sure that we're getting everything we possibly can in the product. We want to make sure that if we're buying a vendor product, we want to understand what kind of AI is being employed in this product. Is it generative AI? Is it learning from my data set? Is it using my data to teach somebody else in the industry that's using the same product? How was my AI originally trained? Is the data that it's trained on sufficient? Is it going to actually give you real responses? Is it years old? Is it actually current information? Or was it just scraped from the internet? Because we all know there's so many false information things on the internet. And we also want to know, was the data stolen? Was it licensed? Are we using somebody's copyrighted work? And then if I put information in AI, can my associate down the hall figure out what I was asking our AI? Who's accessing that information? And basically, when it's accessed, what can they do with it? We have policies in place that are going to prevent abuse of AI in our office. How can I prevent somebody that is abusive from actually training our AI? Because we don't want our AI to become abusive. So we want to make sure that if there is someone in the office that is mistreating the AI, that the AI is not learning from that person. So we want to restrict who's able to teach the AI. And is the AI biased? Is it going to be giving me different information depending on who it sees is the client? And will my AI, once I buy this product, is it going to get smarter? Is it going to stop hallucinating as much? Will it become more accurate the more data that I put into it? And how long is it going to take me to make money on this product? Is it going to be such an investment that I just can't spend the time doing it? So with that, I'll just turn it back to you, Travis.
Thank you, Tracy, for giving us an overview of artificial intelligence and its potential impact on trust and estate law. Please join us on our next podcast when we hear from Professor Jerry Beyer regarding the ethical use of artificial intelligence in trust and estate law.
Thank you for listening to this episode of AgTech Trust and Estate Talk, the podcast series about wealth planning matters from the American College of Trust and Estate Counsel. To find an AgTech lawyer near you, visit actech.org. Please subscribe to this series and leave us a rating or a review.